I was looking at my browser history from last week, and it is honestly a little embarrassing to admit.
Oh no. What are we dealing with here?
Well, I've got searches for, best nootropic supplements, how to optimize REM sleep, personality tests for career growth, and this is a real one, I swear, how to hack my dopamine baseline.
Wow. Yeah, that is quite the list. But I mean, you're not alone in that.
Right. We spend so much time these days trying to figure ourselves out, don't we? It's like we are completely obsessed with the data of being human.
It really is the quantification of the self. We live in this era where we think if we just have enough metrics, like if we
Yeah.
just track enough variables, heart rate variability or galvanic skin response or whatever,
Yeah.
we'll finally understand who we are and, more importantly, how to be happy.
Exactly. We treat ourselves like a machine that just needs a firmware update.
Mhm.
But today, we are doing something completely different for this deep dive.
Yes, we are.
We are looking at a text that claims all of that data, everything we measure, everything we think is us, is actually looking in the completely wrong direction. We aren't looking at a biohacking blog today. We are doing a deep dive into the Tattvabodha.
A true classic.
Hmm.
And I'm really glad you brought up the machine analogy right off the bat, because that is actually very close to how this specific text views the human experience.
Right. But it's not just some dusty old philosophy book sitting on a shelf. The way I read this, it feels like a user's manual for being human.
I like that.
It's basically saying, hey, listen, you are operating this incredibly complex machinery, a body, a mind, an energy system, but you've lost the manual. And actually, worse than that, you've developed this weird amnesia where you think you are the machine.
That is a perfect way to frame it.
Mhm.
Tattvabodha literally translates to knowledge of truth or awakening to truth. It is the fundamental text, what's called a Purana Granth, a primary introductory text of Vedanta.
And it really sets the stage.
Right. And you're right. It isn't interested in your Myers-Briggs type or your sleep score. It's interested in the ultimate question. Who am I? Not what is my personality, but what is the actual thing that have the personality?
And it doesn't pull any punches at all. It dives right into the deep end. We're going to talk about the universe, the individual, and the relationship between the two.
And it does this through a very specific method called Tattvabodha. This translates roughly to the discrimination between truth, which is satya, and the unreal, or the apparent, which is mithya.
So it's a sorting process.
Exactly. It's a rigorous, almost scientific inquiry to separate the real permanent you from the temporary costume you're currently wearing.
The costume. I love that. So our mission for this deep dive is to unpack this manual. We're going to look at how this text defines the self, or Atman, how it analyzes the layers of the body and mind, and this part gets pretty wild, and I definitely have some questions about the math later, the mechanics of how the universe was actually engineered.
And ultimately, the goal is highly practical. It's about how to get out of the trap, how to achieve moksha, or liberation from suffering.
But before we can even open the manual, the text stops us right at the door. It essentially has a bouncer. It says, hold on, not everyone is ready for this conversation.
That's right. This is section 1 of the text, the prerequisites. In the modern world, we're so used to information being free and accessible to everyone instantly.
Yeah, you want to learn nuclear physics? You just Google it.
Right. Or you want to learn how to perform a basic surgical tie. There's probably a YouTube video for that. But the Tattvabodha insists on this concept of adhikari.
The qualified student.
Yes, the source material is very clear on this front. Knowledge isn't just about intellectual capacity here. It's not about having a high IQ or being able to memorize ancient verses. It's about emotional and mental maturity.
Why does that matter, though? I mean, information is information. If E equals MC squared, it's true whether I'm a nice guy or a total jerk.
In physics, maybe. But this is a subjective science. This is about your own fundamental identity. The classic analogy used in the tradition is, if you pour pure fresh milk into a dirty cup, what happens?
The milk spoils.
Hmm.
It gets gross.
Exactly. The milk is fine, but the vessel is contaminated. If your mind is full of anxiety, agitation, massive ego, or obsession, this knowledge simply won't stick.
Or it just gets twisted.
Or worse, you'll misunderstand it and use it to inflate your ego. You'll hear these concepts and think, oh, I am God, so I can do whatever I want. That's a total disaster. So you need to prepare the vessel first. The text outlines the fourfold qualifications, or sadhana chatushtaya.
Let's walk through these, because as I was reading them, I realized they are actually really practical life skills, even if you aren't actively trying to achieve spiritual enlightenment. They're just good for basic mental health.
They really are.
So the first one is viveka, discrimination.
This is the absolute bedrock. Vivek is the ability to differentiate between the permanent nitya and the impermanent anitya. The text posits a core axiom right here. There is only one thing in existence that is permanent, limitless, and unchanging, and that is Brahman, the absolute reality.
And everything else.
Everything else, your body, your house, your reputation, your bank account, the mountains, the stars, the entire galaxy, it's all time-bound. It's all anitya.
Okay, but isn't that just obvious? Like, I know my car isn't going to last forever. I know I'm going to die eventually. Do I really need a special qualification for that?
There is a massive difference between knowing it intellectually and knowing it emotionally. Viveka is the mental clarity to look at something really desirable, let's say a brand new promotion at work or a new relationship, and know deep down this is wonderful, but it is temporary.
Ah, I see.
It prevents you from betting your entire baseline of happiness on something that is absolutely guaranteed to break or change.
That sounds honestly a little bleak at first, to look at everything in your life and see a giant temporary sticker slapped on it.
It could feel that way at first, which is why it naturally leads to the second qualification, viraga, or dispassion. Now, I have to stop you here because people always misunderstand this specific word.
Yeah, it has a bad rap.
They hear dispassion and they think it means depression, apathy, or just being a grump who hates fun.
Right, like you just don't care about anything. You're sitting in a corner, completely joyless, staring at a blank wall while everyone else is having fun at the party. Like, oh, that cake is temporary, so I refuse to eat it.
Exactly. That is not what the text means at all. Viraga isn't about hating the world. It's defined very specifically as the absence of a craving for enjoyment. The text specifies it as the absence of desire for enjoyments here, meaning in this physical world, and hereafter, meaning like heaven or an afterlife.
Wait, hold on a second. Even wanting to go to heaven is considered a distraction here? I thought the whole point of religion was getting to heaven.
In many conventional traditions, yes. But in Vedanta, heaven is viewed as just another temporary station. It's a golden cage, but it is still a cage.
A really nice cage, but yeah.
It's a place of pleasure, sure, but it's time-bound. If you go there, you burn through your merit, your good karma, and eventually you have to return. Viraga is realizing that no external object or experience, whether that's a new Tesla, a lover, or a celestial paradise, can give you lasting, permanent security.
So it's not about saying, I can't have the Tesla. It's saying, I don't need the Tesla to be okay.
Precisely. It's a sense of profound coolness or emotional independence. You can drive the Tesla, you can enjoy the Tesla, but if the Tesla gets scratched in the parking lot or stolen, your internal world doesn't completely collapse. That is viraga.
Okay, so we have discrimination, knowing what's real, and dispassion, not being desperately addicted to what's fake. Then we get to the third qualification, which is actually a bundle of 6 separate traits, the sixfold wealth.
Samadhi, Shaka, Sampati. These are the mental muscles or the daily discipline required to actually sit down and do the inquiry.
Let's break them down, because this is basically the gym routine for the mind. First is Shama.
Shama is mastery or management of the mind. It's the ability to keep the mind calm. You know, when you're trying to go to sleep, but your brain is replaying an argument you had in 2014.
Vividly. Too vividly.
Shama is the ability to say stop and actually have the mind listen to you. It's not letting the mind run wild with anxieties, past regrets, or future fantasies.
And then there is Dhamma.
Dhamma is the control of the external senses. This is the physical counterpart to Shama. If Shama is not mentally obsessing about eating the cake, Dhamma is the physical discipline of not actually reaching out your hand to grab it.
That is a crucial distinction. Sometimes my mind says no, but my hand is already halfway to the cookie jar. That's a total failure of Dhamma.
Exactly.
Then we have Uparama.
This is often translated as withdrawal, which again sounds sort of antisocial. But the text defines it closer to doing one's own duty, or svadharma, without constant distraction.
Like staying in your lane.
Yes, it's a kind of settling down. You aren't constantly trying to expand your empire or seek out new, extreme stimulation. You're focused on what needs to be done right now, in front of you. It's essentially an ancient antidote to FOMO.
Fear of missing out. The fourth one is actually my personal favorite, and also probably the hardest for most of us in the modern world. Titiksha.
Ah, yes. Forbearance. Or endurance.
The text defines this as the endurance of opposites. So heat and cold, pain and pleasure, without complaining. That without complaining part is the real kicker for me.
It is the most important part of the definition. It's the capacity to withstand basic discomfort. If it's hot, it's hot. If it's cold, it's cold. You don't create a second layer of suffering by mentally whining about it.
The second arrow concept.
Exactly. The Buddha talked about this too. The first arrow is the physical pain. Let's say you stub your toe on a table. That's inevitable. You have a body, it will hit things.
Right.
But the second arrow is your reaction. Why am I so clumsy? This hurts so much. I hate this stupid table. That second arrow is entirely self-inflicted. Katiksha is simply feeling the physical throb of the toe without adding the dramatic narrative on top of it. It's pure emotional resilience.
Then we have Shraddha.
Faith or trust. But I want to be really careful here. It's not blind faith. It doesn't mean you just blindly believe whatever you're told without questioning. It means trusting the data source. In this specific context, it means trusting the teacher, the guru, and the manual itself, the Shastra.
It's like when I go to a doctor. I don't know how the medicine works on a molecular level, but I have Shraddha and the doctor's training, so I take the pill to see if it works.
Right. You need a working hypothesis that these people actually know what they're talking about in order to even start the experiment.
Yeah.
If you start learning physics, but you fundamentally don't believe the professor or the textbook, you'll never learn anything. Skepticism is good, but pure cynicism blocks all learning.
And finally, the sixth part of the wealth is samadhanam.
Single-pointed focus. The ability to concentrate the mind on the goal without drifting off. It's the exact opposite of monkey mind.
So, if you have all that discrimination, dispassion, the entire sixfold discipline, you still need one last thing. The fourth qualification.
Mumukshitham. The intense yearning for freedom.
The text describes this as a burning desire. Let me attain liberation.
It has to be the absolute priority. There is a famous story in the tradition about a student asking a guru, how much do I actually need to want this enlightenment thing?
What did the guru do?
The guru takes the student down to a river and suddenly dunks his head underwater. The student is shocked. He fights and fights, gasping for air, thrashing around. Finally, the guru lets him pull his head up and asks, when you were underwater, did you think about your money? Did you think about your relationships? Did you think about what you were going to have for dinner?
I'm guessing he probably just thought about air.
Exactly. He wanted air. That's it. Nothing else mattered. Mumukshitvam is wanting to know the truth like a grounding person wants air. If you just want it as a neat intellectual hobby or a nice to have on your weekends, you aren't ready. That intense drive is what fuels the rocket. Without it, all the discipline in the world won't actually take you to the final destination.
Okay, so that's the gatekeeper. Let's say, for the sake of this deep dive, that our listeners are totally qualified. Their hair is on fire, they are resilient, and they want to know the truth like they need air. We finally open the manual to section 2, the inquiry into the self.
And here the text uses a method called the analysis of the three bodies.
This was a huge shift for me when reading the source. I usually just think, I am this body. The text says, no, you have 3 bodies.
Correct. It rigorously separates the possessor from the possessed.
Let's start with the obvious one, the one we can see in the mirror. The gross body, or stula sharira.
This is the meat suit, the biological hardware. The text defines it as being made of the 5 elements: space, air, fire, water, and earth. And importantly, the source says this physical body is subject to 6 modifications.
Modifications. What does that mean in this context?
Changes. Stages of a life cycle. 1, existence, meaning it appears in the womb. 2, birth. 3, growth. 4, maturity. 5, decay. And 6, death.
So it's a biological machine with a built-in expiration date.
Exactly. It's described as the house of experiences. It's the structure where we feel joy and sorrow. But the core argument is that the house is not the resident. Because it changes, it grows, it decays. It cannot be the permanent. You watch your body age in the mirror.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But the one who is watching that process hasn't aged. The witness is the same.
That's a slightly spooky thought, but I totally get it. Okay, so I'm not the meat suit, but then there's something functioning inside of it. The subtle body, or sukshma sharira. This is where the text gets incredibly detailed. The source says this has 17 specific components.
Yes. Think of this as your software and your internal electrical system. If the gross body is the hardware, the subtle body is the operating system running on it.
Break down the 17 parts for us because it's a very specific list.
First, you have the 5 organs of perception, the junanadios. These are the ears, skin, eyes, tongue, and nose. But wait, this is crucial to understand. The text isn't talking about the physical eyeball here.
It's not. Then what is it?
No. The physical eyeball, the lens, the cornea, that is part of the gross body, the capacity of sight is the subtle body. Think about it. If your eyeball is perfectly intact, but the optic nerve or the visual cortex in the brain is damaged, you don't see anything.
Oh, I see.
So the organ of perception is the subtle power of sensing. It's the software driver for the camera, not the physical plastic lens itself.
Got it. The power behind the organ. So that's 5. Then we have the outputs.
Right. The 5 organs of action are karmandriyas: speech, hands, legs, anus, and genitals. Again, this is the faculty or the subtle power to interact with the world. The power of grasping, moving, eliminating, procreating.
So that gives us 10 components. Then we have the energy system, the 5 pranas.
This is the power grid. People usually just translate prana as breath, but it's really the physiological functions powered by the breath. The source lists them out very specifically.
What are the 5?
Prana is respiration, the forward-moving air. Apana is the downward force. This manages excretion, birthing. Vyana is circulation. It moves nutrients all throughout the body. Samana is digestion, assimilating the food in the core. And Udana is the upward force. This is responsible for vomiting, or importantly, the energy used when you die to actually leave the physical body.
So without these 5 pranas, the meat suit is just a lifeless corpse?
Correct. The hardware has no power. So we have 15 parts now. The last 2 are really the most important ones for our daily experience: the mind, or manas, and the intellect, or buddhi.
I feel like in normal conversation, I use these words completely interchangeably. My mind thinks, my intellect thinks. What's the actual difference in this ancient system?
It's a very sharp functional difference. The mind, manas, is defined as the seat of emotion and vacillation. It's the part of you that is constantly wavering. It says, should I do this? I feel sad today. I really want that new gadget. Maybe I shouldn't buy it. It's the doubting, processing faculty.
And the intellect.
The buddhi is the decision maker.
Yeah.
It's the faculty that steps in and puts an end to the wavering. It says, no, we are doing X. It judges, it decides, and it determines. It claims, I am the doer.
So the mind is the chaotic committee, and the intellect is the executive manager making the final call.
Exactly. And together, these 17 subtle parts make up the subtle body. This is what you identify with most of the time.
Yeah.
Your personality, your memories, your specific skills, your daily anxieties, they all live here.
But the text says, and I'm sensing a pattern here, I'm not that either.
No, you are not. And here is the logic the source uses. You are aware of your thoughts, right? You can sit down and say, wow, my mind is really racing today.
Yeah, I say that practically every afternoon.
If you can observe your mind racing, you cannot be the mind. The observer is always distinct from the observed. The camera taking the picture is not the picture itself. You are the one watching the mental drama unfold.
Okay, that logic pushes me back another step. I'm not the hardware, I'm not the software, but there is one more body in the manual, the causal body. Karana Sharira.
This is the trickiest one to grasp because it's completely invisible to our normal waking logic. Imagine being in deep sleep.
Okay, I'm out cold. Absolutely no dreams.
In that deep sleep state, where is your anxiety? Where is your fancy job title? Where is your gender or your bank account?
On. It's all completely blank.
But are you dead?
No.
And when you wake up in the morning, your personality comes rushing back. Right.
Ah.
You don't wake up thinking you're Napoleon. You wake up exactly as you.
Unfortunately, yes. The bills and the stress are right there waiting on the nightstand.
So where did all of that go during those hours of deep sleep? It didn't disappear into nothingness. It went into a dormant state. It folded up. They went into what the text calls seed form. That potentiality, that state of dormant ignorance where everything is paused but perfectly ready to spring back up. That is the causal body. It is the blueprint of your ego, resting.
So I have these 3 bodies, gross, subtle, causal. And the source text also talks about the 5 sheaths, or Pancha Kosha. Is that just another way of slicing the exact same pie?
Yes, it's a different taxonomy for the exact same system, using the visual imagery of layers or sheaths covering the truth, almost like the layers of an onion.
How did those map out?
The outermost is Annamaya, the food sheath. That's the physical body. It's bluntly called food because it's born from food, sustained by food, and eventually becomes food for the earth.
Brutal, but biologically true.
Then you go a layer deeper. Pranamaya, the vital air sheath. That's the energy grid. The Manamaya, the mental sheath. The emotions and doubts. The Vijnanamaya, the intellectual sheath. The thinker and the doer.
And finally, the innermost sheath, right at the core. Anandamaya, the bliss sheath.
Which corresponds to the causal body. Now, be very careful with the English word bliss here. It doesn't mean ecstatic jumping up and down joy.
It doesn't, because that sounds like false advertising.
It really refers to the absence of pain and conflict. Think about deep sleep again. You aren't happy in the active conscious sense, but you are totally undisturbed. There's absolutely no suffering. That pristine absence of friction is called bliss here. It's the ignorance experienced in deep sleep.
And the source uses this really simple logic to prove I'm none of these layers. The mine versus me logic.
It's irrefutable logic once you sit with it.
Yeah.
It says, just as you look at a gold bangle or a house and say, this is mine, implying that you are totally separate from the object, you also say, this is my body, this is my mind, this is my ignorance.
Right, I possess them.
Therefore, the me, the subject, the knower, must be distinct from the mine, the object, the known. You are the owner of the house. You are not the bricks and mortar of the house.
Okay, so if I'm not the body or the mind, maybe I'm the state of consciousness I'm currently in. But section 3 of our source breaks that down too. The 3 states of consciousness, or Advaita Traya.
Right. We cycle through 3 modes of experience every single day. This isn't abstract philosophy. This is the daily lab experiment you run on yourself.
First is waking Jagrat.
In the waking state, you are heavily identified with the gross body. You perceive external objects, sounds, forms, people through your physical senses. The text calls the I, in this specific state, Vishva. You are fully engaged with the external physical world.
Then we go to sleep and enter the dream state Svapna.
Here, the gross body is asleep. It's functionally paralyzed on the bed. You are now identified with the subtle body. You create a whole new world inside your head projected by your impressions, or vasanas, gathered from the waking state.
So it's an internal projection.
Exactly. The text calls the I in this dream state Taijasa, the effulgent one, because you are literally lighting up your own mental world. You are the projector, the screen, and the audience all at once.
And then deep sleep, Sushupti.
No dreams, no world at all, just complete blankness. You are identified with the causal body. The text calls the I here prajna.
But here's the thing that always gets me about this part of the philosophy. When I wake up from deep sleep, I say, man, I slept so well. I didn't know anything at all.
Precisely. That is the smoking gun. If you were truly gone, if your existence simply ceased, you wouldn't be able to report back that you slept happily.
Wait, run that logic by me again?
Think about an empty room. To report that a room was completely empty, someone had to actually be standing in the room to see that there was nothing there. If there was no witness, you couldn't say there was nothing there.
Oh, wow.
When you wake up and say, I didn't know anything, you are reporting the experience of the absence of specific knowledge. That means you, the witness, were there, wide awake, watching the blankness of the mind.
So even when my mind completely shuts off, something is still on.
Yes, that something is the true self, the Atman. It is the one who is present through waking, dreaming, and deep sleep, but changes in none of them. It watches the waking world appear and disappear. It watches the dream world appear and disappear. It watches the darkness of sleep appear and disappear. It is the continuous, unchanging thread on which all the pearls of your daily experience are strung.
So we've stripped absolutely everything away. I'm not the body, I'm not the mind, I'm not the waker, the dreamer, or the sleeper. So what on earth is left? Section 4. The nature of reality, Sat Chidananda.
This is the ultimate definition of the self in Vedanta. If you are not any of the changing parts, you are Sat Chidananda.
Let's unpack these 3 terms because they are central to the whole text. First, Sat, which translates to existence.
Existence that remains unchanged in the 3 periods of time, past, present, and future. Your body wasn't there before birth, and it won't be there after decay. But the existence that supports it, the fundamental isness, is eternal. The self is. It doesn't borrow its existence from anywhere else.
Then Chit, which means consciousness.
The nature of absolute knowledge or awareness. It's the invisible light that lights up your thoughts. You know your hand is there because of consciousness. You also know if your hand is not there because of consciousness.
It illuminates both presence and absence.
Exactly. It is self-shining. It doesn't need another light to see it. Think of a light bulb in a dark room. You need the light from the bulb to see the furniture. But do you need a flashlight to see the light bulb?
No, the light reveals itself.
Exactly. You are that light. You never have to stop and ask, am I conscious right now? You just inherently know.
And finally, Ananda. Bliss.
This is the one people really struggle with. They think, I don't feel blissful. I feel stressed about my taxes.
Exactly. If my fundamental nature is bliss, why am I miserable half the time?
Because you are looking for bliss in the wrong place. Ananda means fullness, wholeness. It is the nature of a complete lack of want. Let's use an example. Think about when you really, really want something. Let's say a slice of pizza. You have a strong desire.
Okay, I'm with you.
That desire creates mental tension. You are unhappy because you lack the pizza. You are agitated.
Right, I need the pizza.
Then you eat the pizza. For a brief moment, the desire is fulfilled and it vanishes. The mental agitation settles down. And in that moment, you feel happy. But Vedanta says, That happiness didn't actually come from the pepperoni.
It didn't.
No, it came because your mind briefly stopped screaming for something. When the mind is finally silent, your true nature and Ananda naturally shine through.
So I am the source of the happiness. The pizza just temporarily unlocked the door by quieting the mind.
Yes, you are the exact happiness you are constantly seeking. You're just confusing the reflection, which is pleasure from objects, with the source, which is yourself.
That is a massive reframe. So I am existence, consciousness, bliss. That's the micro view, the analysis of the individual. But the Tattvabodha is a manual for the universe, too. We have to look at the macro. Section 5, cosmology. How is this whole incredible show built?
This is where we get into the ancient engineering of creation. The text says the origin of everything is Brahman the Absolute plus Maya.
Maya. That's usually translated as illusion, right?
Yes, but here it's much better understood as the creative power of the Lord. It's the manifesting software of the universe. And Maya consists of three gunas, or essential qualities: sattva, rajas, and tamas.
These are like the three primary colors of the universe.
That's a great way to look at it. Sattva is intelligence, purity, knowledge, balance. Rajas is activity, passion, motion, dynamic energy. Tamas is inertia, darkness, heaviness, solid matter. Every single thing in the universe, from a rock to a complex human thought, is a unique blended mix of these three qualities.
And from this mix, the 5 elements are born.
Yes, and the sequence is very important. From the matrix of Brahman and Maya comes space, or Akasha. From space comes air, Vayu. From air comes fire, Tejar. From fire comes water, Apa. And from water comes earth, Prithvi.
Okay, so we have the raw elements, but how do they actually become us? The text has this really specific recipe for the individual. It actually explains why we have senses and why we have action organs.
It connects the elements directly to our bodies based on those gunas we just mentioned. This is where the synthesis happens. It's the sattva aspect of the elements. The pure, transparent, knowing part combines to create our organs of perception and our inner instruments.
That makes intuitive sense. Senses and mind are about light, clarity, gathering information. That's sattva.
Right. For example, the text says the sattva aspect of space specifically creates the ear because sound travels in space. The sattva aspect of fire creates the eye, catching light and form. And the total sattva of all 5 elements mixed together creates the antakarana, the mind and intellect. Your mind is basically the purest part of the elemental soup.
And the rajas aspect, the active, passionate part.
That creates the organs of action and the pranas, the vital airs. Because rajas is all about energy and motion. So the rajas aspect of air creates the hand for grasping. The rajas aspect of fire creates the legs for movement. It's a very systematic mapping.
Okay, but what about the solid physical universe? The rocks, the trees, my heavy physical body. That's where the tamas aspect comes in. And this is where the text gives us a literal mathematical formula called panchakarana.
Grossification. This is how the subtle, intangible elements actually become the solid matter we touch. Because if you think about it, space isn't solid, air isn't solid, fire isn't solid. So how do we get solid stuff?
Walk us through the math here, because it's actually incredibly specific in the source material.
It really is. Imagine you have the 5 pure, subtle elements: space, air, fire, water, earth. To make them gross or physical, the text says, take each element and split it exactly in half.
Okay, 50-50 split.
Keep one half intact and set it aside. Take the other half and split it into 4 equal parts. So that means each little slice is 1/8 of the original whole.
Okay, so for each element, I have a big half and 4 little 1/8 slices.
Right. Then take those 4 small parts and mix them into the other 4 elements. So let's look at gross earth, the actual dirt you walk on outside.
What's the composition?
It is 50% pure earth, but it is also 12.5% space, 12.5% air, 12.5% fire, and 12.5% water.
Wow, so absolutely everything physical is actually a compound. Earth isn't just earth, it literally contains a piece of everything else.
Exactly. This profound mixture creates the physical, tangible elements that make up the gross body and the entire visible world. It beautifully explains why we can perceive sound, which is a space property, and heat, a fire property, within our physical environment. Everything is structurally interconnected. The universe is a massive, mathematically balanced cocktail of these 5 ingredients.
So we have the individual, the microcosm, and the universe, the macrocosm. Now we get to the real climax of the text. Section 6, the grand identity, Jiva and Ishwara.
This is the punchline. This is what all the intense analysis has been leading to.
First, let's define the players again, just to be clear. We have the Jiva, that's me, the limited individual.
The jiva is consciousness. that is conditioned or limited by ignorance, avidya, and identified with a specific tiny body. You feel limited. You have a small ego. You know a few things, but certainly not everything. You are the wave.
And then there is Ishwara, the Lord, the total.
Ishvara is that exact same consciousness, but conditioned by Maya, the total creative power. Ishvara is omniscient, all-knowing, all-powerful, and completely free of a personal ego. Ishvara runs the entire universe. Ishvara is the ocean.
So here is the core conflict. The text says, Tat tivam asi, that thou art. It's saying the little confused jiva is actually the exact same as the all-knowing Ishwara. How is that functionally possible? I am definitely not all-knowing. I forget where I parked my car at the grocery store. I certainly can't create a galaxy.
The text anticipates this exact objection. It says, if you look at the literal meaning, the Vakyartha, yes, you are totally different. You are small, God is big, you're ignorant, God is wise. The costumes, what they call the upadis, are total opposites.
So we have to look deeper than the literal meaning.
We have to look at the implied meaning, the lakshartha. Go back to the wave in the ocean analogy.
Okay.
The wave is small, it's temporary, it crashes on the shore and disappears. It has a very specific, limited form. The ocean is vast, deep, and supports all the waves. They look completely different. One is mighty, one is tiny. But if you take a cup of water from the wave to a lab, and a cup of water from the deep ocean to a lab, what are they?
They're just water, H2O.
Exactly. If you strip away the name and form wave versus ocean, the core substance is identical. Similarly, if you strip away the limiting adjuncts, strip away the individual body and mind from the jiva, and strip away the total universe and Maya from Ishwara, what is left?
Pure consciousness.
Precisely. Sat Chidananda, from the standpoint of the essential substance, there is absolutely zero difference between you and the Lord. The apparent difference is entirely in the packaging.
That is the ultimate aha moment. Tat tivamasi. You are that.
It's not that your individual ego is God. You, the person with a name and an address, are not God. But the underlying truth of you, the witness behind the costume, is the exact same as the truth that sustains the entire universe.
So if someone...
It is very technical. The text breaks karma down into 3 distinct types to explain the mechanics of liberation. This is essentially the accounting system of the soul.
Type 1 is agami karma.
This is the karma created by actions performed in the present moment that will yield results in the future. It's the future karma. Every time you act with ego, you generate this.
Type 2 is sanchita karma.
The accumulated account. This is the massive, unfathomable warehouse of karma from infinite past lives that hasn't fruited yet. It's waiting in seed form in the causal body. The text calls it the seed for endless millions of births.
And type 3 is prarabdha karma.
This is the karma that is currently playing out. It's the portion of the warehouse that launched this specific life. Your parents, your physical body type, the major overarching pleasure and pain you are destined to experience right now. It's often called the arrow in flight.
So when you get enlightenment, when you genuinely realize I am Brahman, what happens to these 3 distinct karmas?
The text is very specific about the mechanics here. First, Sanchita, the massive warehouse, is instantly destroyed, burned to ashes by the fire of knowledge. You don't have to work through millions of lives anymore. The bank account is permanently closed.
Nice. What about agami, the new stuff they do today?
It just doesn't stick. The text says it's like water on a lotus leaf. Because the wise person knows I'm not the doer, they don't accrue new merit or sin from their actions. They are essentially Teflon to karma.
But what about prarabdha, the current like they are in?
That's the catch. Prarabdha is like an arrow that has already left the archer's bow. You can't call it back midair. Even a liberated person has to live out the momentum of their current body until it falls away naturally. They will still feel physical hunger, thirst, maybe even disease or pain.
So they aren't somehow magically immune to pain?
No, biologically they still experience it.
Right.
But they don't suffer from it mentally. They watch it play out like a movie on a screen. They note, oh, the body is sick today. Interesting. They don't identify with the illness.
Now, here is the detail that completely blew my mind in the source text. The transfer of results. Since the wise person generates actions but doesn't claim the karmic results, where do those results actually go? It's like conservation of energy, right? It has to go somewhere.
This is a fascinating, almost mystical detail in the Tattvabodha. It states that the merit, or good karma, generated by the wise person goes directly to those who praise, serve, and worship them.
Okay, that sounds like a fantastic deal. Be nice to wise people, get free good vibes.
But the dark side is the sin, or the bad consequences of any apparent negative actions, goes directly to those who abuse, hate, or cause pain to the wise person.
Whoa. So if you troll an enlightened master, you are literally absorbing their bad karma. You are taking out their cosmic trash.
According to the text, yes. It's a mechanism of universal balance. The wise person is free of it all, so the universe redistributes the effects to the people interacting with them, strictly based on their attitude and actions toward the sage.
That drastically changes how you might want to interact with people. You never truly know who's enlightened.
It's a very good reason to be kind to everyone, just in case.
And finally, the text talks about the end, physical death.
For the Jivan Mukta, death is a total non-event. The text quotes a Smriti saying, it absolutely doesn't matter if their body drops in a highly holy place like Kashi or in the house of a dog-eater, which was considered the absolute lowest, most impure place in ancient societal times.
Because they aren't the body anyway. The location doesn't matter.
Right. They have already fully crossed the ocean of samsara. They are free from sorrow and rebirth. When the body dies, they simply merge back into the whole, much like the space inside a clay pot naturally merges with the boundless space outside the moment the pot breaks. There is no travel, no soul going anywhere, just being.
It's an incredibly complete map. From the strict qualifications at the door, to the forensic analysis of the body, to the grand cosmology, and finally to the ultimate liberation.
It really is. It takes the confusing, painful mess of human existence and organizes it into a clear, navigable structure.
So as we wrap up, what does this all mean for us, the listeners? I mean, most of us aren't monks living in a cave in the Himalayas. We have jobs, kids, mortgages, and taxes.
The core message is entirely relevant to everyone, no matter your lifestyle. It's the profound idea that you are not your personality, you are not your job, your daily anxieties, or your physical body. You are the unchanging observer of those things. That simple internal shift, just stepping back into the quiet seat of the witness, can bring an immense amount of peace right in the middle of a chaotic life. You don't have to quit your corporate job to practice viveka.
It's the ultimate way to not take things personally because, it isn't even you.
Exactly.
Well,
it's freedom right where you are.
Well, here is a provocative thought to leave you with. We talked earlier about how the future karma of a wise person naturally flows to the people who praise or blame them.
Yes, the transfer of merit and demerit.
If that's true on a grand scale, it implies that our relentless judgment of others actually says way more about us than it does about them. It implies we are constantly engaging in an invisible karmic exchange with every single person we meet. If you knew that judging someone else might literally be loading their unseen baggage onto your own back, how would that fundamentally change the way you scroll through social media today?
That is a terrifying and truly transformative thought.
Something to mull over as you go about your day. Thanks for diving deep with us into the Tattvabodha.
It was an absolute pleasure.
We'll see you next time.